Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sound Corner podcast. Rated number one in live musical streams on Twitch that are named the Sound Corner podcast. Super happy to be back at it again this week. Hello, Michael.
Hey Chris, how's it going?
It's going good. Let me turn off the music. There is getting a
I
little
say
loud.
that like you're not my brother and like 10 feet away from me, but
He's over there. Yeah.
yeah.
We got a good show for you guys today. I wanted to start it out with some unfortunate news that was brought to the whole music community today. Death metal band and pioneers of the modern death metal scene, the Black Dahlia Murder, announced today that their vocalist and founding member Trevor Sternad had passed away, and it really is it's a tragedy. It's so sad, and
It is, and it's become more of a tragedy. I mean, I know a lot of people who are into metal are affected by this, but the more that I've heard just stories about what he was like personally come out, the sadder it's kind of become. Not that death isn't always inherently sad, but it sounds like he was just a really awesome person and really cool to his fans. And that's super unfortunate.
it is it's really unfortunate. We've had a lot of people in the local area who've interacted or have even worked with Trevor over the past couple of years. A lot of people have been influenced by their music,
That
and
was the surprising part to me. Like today, like our friends, obviously people in like the local scene, I'm seeing all sorts of pictures pop up of like the times that they met Trevor, or like we had a friend that said Trevor bought a CD from his band one time, and it was all just really cool like anecdotes to hear.
yeah, and so big shout out to the Black Dahlia Murder today, and for a long time. We wish them the best, and biggest condolences to their family, all Trevor's friends, everyone in the band. It really is sad. Rest in peace, Trevor Sternad, and thanks for 20 years of unique, insane death metal that was like no other band. Uh,
Yeah,
but
for real. And I mean, I it kind of blows my mind. I really didn't realize how long they've been around for, but I saw earlier, or I was going through their Facebook and some of their old shows had popped up, or like their first shows were from like 2001, and it was wild to me that like that kind of music was going on at that time.
yeah, it how I definitely I was really young, so I wasn't listening to any of that music, but it was way ahead of its time for sure. And
And
it's
I know like me and you kind of got into like Deflorate, like or
mhm.
Deflorate as we were in high school, and that was kind of like our entrance point for that band. But
Yeah, it was a great album. I spent a lot of my high school years listening to Miasma, Nocturnal, and Deflorate, and a little bit after that as well. But so a big impact on a lot of people, including ourselves. So shout out to the Black Dahlia Murder today. But let's kick it up a little bit. I wanted to touch on that was totally impromptu. Obviously we didn't plan on talking about that. Before we get to today's guest, I want to touch down on something that's been kind of taking the internet for a little bit of a ride in planning. It's this new festival called the Kentucky Irate Festival, based out of Louisville, Kentucky. And I have a little article I found on like an actual like pretty big website. From Leo Weekly, a brand new all ages deathcore slam festival is coming to Louisville this summer. Kentucky Irate Festival will run from August 26th to the 28th in the parking lot outside 21st in Germantown. There will be 40 national bands and 17 local bands on two stages. There won't be any overlapping sets, but acts on the main stage will play 25 to 40 minutes each, and acts on the smaller stage will play for 20 minutes each. So,
this is interesting to me because it's Kentucky, first of all, and Kentucky's not the place that I think of first when I think of like deathcore, like slam. So that in itself is interesting. But the guy who's putting together the festival is apparently a really big fan. He goes to like 30, 40 concerts a year, and just super into like the whole metal scene.
And yeah, and a lot of great national acts are going to be making it to the show. Also, Death Raptor, thank you for the 2 months. Big shout out. But they confirmed some of the bands are pretty big in the deathcore scene, but not necessarily the headliners. So far confirmed are Impending Doom, Traitors, Rose Funeral, In Dying Arms, and Filth. And we've also got a couple people from our area playing, like Weeping Wound, and that's really cool. They're going to be making the trip up there. We
I was
have
gonna say a lot of these bands are actually local to us. I mean, Traders comes from this
that's right.
area.
Traitors is about
Uh,
45 minutes away from us.
yep, Weeping Wound, Victims. They're both from literally our local scene, pretty much.
Yeah, actually, Victims I believe is technically up north, but we do their
We get
guitarists live
yeah, and
around
they're
here.
yeah, and they're I think they're here a lot.
They are here a lot. And it's also hosted the festival's being hosted by Hardcore Keem, who is also local to us. He's become like a metal influencer, and that's really amazing. He's also playing for the Browning now, who will be at the show as well. But uh, they're not even halfway through with the announcements yet, and I think there's going to be plenty more to come in. And
That's what's crazy about this. They said that they're getting close to, like, I guess the early bird tickets are almost gone, and they've sold a good amount of tickets, and there's no actual big headliners that have been announced yet.
not yet, no.
I mean, not that like Impending Doom isn't big, or like Traders is pretty big at this point, but I guess the implication at this point is that there are other bands that are way bigger that are yet to be announced.
And it sounds like this is going to be, if successful, this will be like the next big heavy metal festival annually. So looking forward to see the outcome, and hopefully, we're looking at possibly going up there as well to make it out for the weekend. We'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
we might road trip up there.
Yeah, we might take a road trip up there, but
Up to Kentucky.
up to Kentucky. I'd love to see it. But let's
And
get.
I kind of I was kind of joking, but I was kind of serious when I said that we should visit Bobby Mackey's world as well. For anybody who doesn't know, Bobby Mackey's is an old bar in Kentucky that is supposedly super haunted, one of the most haunted spots in the country. And like very bad, like demonic energy there. It was on Ghost Adventures a couple times.
We'd love to see it. Are you ready? Let's move along. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So our guest today is the singer and guitarist of the Tampa three-piece alt-rock emo band Pale Gold. They released their debut EP High Strung in 2018, have performed alongside bands such as Capstan, Daisy Head, and Have Mercy. You can stream their latest single, String, on Spotify, Apple Music, and more. Today's guest is Tyler Aupperlee, and I'd love to show you guys some of their music, and let's give them a warm welcome.
Quick hesitation, now I'm back in my place. Use again, so I set my own pace. Now I'm gone, and I'm pale in the face. But I still can't escape this space.
It looks so good.
Oh, you like the new intro?
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Oh, that's doesn't it even says featuring Tyler of
Yes,
Pale
it,
Gold. That's
yes,
cool.
it does. Welcome, Tyler. Thanks for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
So I want to touch down real quick on you're our first band that isn't deathcore, metalcore, or slam, or any of that, and it's a milestone for us, honestly. So we're really excited to have you on here for this.
Yeah, thank you a lot actually for having me. Honestly, I know this has kind of been like it was like a month ago. We kind of like got together and talked about doing it. It's actually really cool to like just be on and talking to you guys.
Yeah, we went through with it and everything. That was about a month ago where we decided to bring everything to start the podcast up again. So I'm really ecstatic that you hit us up and we made it happen. So I want to talk about, before we get into anything else, Pale Gold, I want to talk about your first EP, High Strung. It's I listened to it primarily at night. I listened to it a lot on the way home from work, especially during like sunset. And I just want to ask you, how were you able to like write music perfect for that setting? Because I find it really difficult to be like, I want to write this kind of vibey sunset sounding music, but it's still a little aggressive, you know? Tell me about the process of writing that EP.
So that one, we wrote that whole EP through like from like 2016 to like 2017. We were like writing a bunch of like we were nonstop writing a bunch of like pop punk songs, and that was kind of the direction we were going in at that point. So we just kind of sat down. It was so like Michael, my other guitarist, and myself have been writing music together for about 10 years at this point, and we have just always had an appreciation for like that style of music. And when we wanted to like start writing our own music in that genre, we were just like pulling influences from a bunch of our favorite bands, which at the time were like The Story So Far, Basement, Title Fight, just like the really big heavy hitters in that era.
Mm-hmm.
And we just sat down and we were like, what can we do to like put ourselves on the map in this style of music? So we would get together pretty much every day and just sit down and map out chords. And then we both wrote lyrics for the EP. And Michael actually sung everything on that EP. I was just a guitarist at that point. And then eventually we kind of flip-flopped. And now I kind of take on the singing role. And that's like I sing in string and he sings like in that whole EP. So
your
kind of like
voices,
a little
they sound very similar. Because if you told me like, oh, that was all me singing on the EP as well as string, I would have completely believed it. Because
Right.
but string is a little bit more. The vocals are a bit more aggressive, and it definitely, you can feel the change. But I wanted to say that a few of the songs, speaking of like the heavy hitting pop punk of the time, remind me a lot of Knuckle Puck, and also a lot of Turnover as well. And
I
Yeah.
was gonna ask if there's like Turnover and like Gleamer influences, because kind of like what you were saying, how like you started kind of like pop punk, reminds me of Turnover, how they were pop punk for a while and then they kind of like changed into like this shoegazy, more like alt rock sound.
Yeah, like their first two EPs are like very much so like pop punky. And that was kind of like around the same time that we were writing a bunch of like that same material. And then that's like we were talking earlier about like bands who kind of like matured into this like kind of shoegaze like type of sound. And that's definitely like one of the bands that has really done that well. But yeah, they definitely had an influence in especially that like earlier work.
I like that you kind of refer to it as like maturing. And you brought up like the Story So Far, and we've kind of seen that with them as well too, where they went into like Proper Dose, and the change in sound has been kind of different. Um, it makes me think that maybe that's like the end game for a lot of pop punk bands. I mean, you can only play like that angry music for so long before you kind of want to like move on to something else.
Right, yeah. And I feel like you can definitely hear like a lot of angst in their like earlier work, and now it's more personable, like what like their lyric material and like even just their writing instrumentally is just like it's come a long way, you know, and that's like what we're trying to also embody. Like we don't want to keep playing like the same three chord progressions. We just kind of want to move like tonally and like lyric wise into like a more mature direction where like every song isn't about like a girl and like a shitty situation. It's like there's other shit that like you can talk about like yourself, you know.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, that being said, as we like me and Chris were listening to the EP, I found that I think a lot of the lyrics are really relatable, especially with like songs like Blurred, which is great because I mean that's something that sells like a band like that. Like you want to be able to relate to the lyrics, you want to be able to feel it. So I think you guys really succeed in that aspect of it for sure.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that actually, thank you for reminding me. That is the one song that I do sing on that record, actually. So like that one is me, and then I think the other what is like 4 songs are Michael singing.
I want to shout out the lyrics again too because they are very the lyrics you guys wrote are very good at taking the listener and putting them in that position, even if it is like an unfortunate predicament. When I listened to all these songs, there was great imagery for
Yeah.
it, and it told a whole story. And where was the lyrical style like inspiration from?
I think the same place, honestly, like, as instrumentally, we were just like really, really into a lot of like story so far, balancing composure. Like you shouted out Knuckle Puck. That band was like really big for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even like Home Safe, which is like the guitarist of Knuckle Puck's like side project that he like plays guitar and sings in. That they also are like super solid, honestly, and they played a huge influence in that too.
Is the sidetrack is the guitarist in Home Safe? Is he the one that does all like the background yells on all of Knuckle Puck stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I'd have to check this out. Then I absolutely love everything that guy does in Knuckle Puck. Like especially
Yeah.
his accenting with like his yells and shit. It's all so good. So yeah, I'll definitely have to check those guys out. But so I wanted to touch down on the EP first before we move on to your new single that just came out, I believe, a few months ago, right? End of 2021.
Yeah. Yep. Like late last year.
So String is it's got you on vocals. You have a very harsh sound, but like a harsh good, like very emotional, aggressive, and I totally am into it. Did the influences started to change up a bit, right? It was time to it's the EP was about 3 years ago, so you're obviously all listening
Yeah.
to completely different things now.
Yeah. So like I mean, Michael and I have kind of like moved in the same like kind of like musical progression, and like we're both super into like the new age of like grunge and like shoegaze type sounds. Like we both really like really hard hitting riffs, and then also like really like warm, welcoming like voices. It's a cool like mixture that I feel like has like recently had like a revival like of almost like reminiscent of like 80s like goth and shoegaze. I really mess with a lot of the stuff like that sounds like that nowadays. And like, do you guys know who Soul Blind is?
I think I've seen the name. I'm not too familiar though.
That band is one of our favorites at like the moment. Soul Blind and Downward are like our two huge like we like fanboy over those bands all the time.
Hell yeah.
They're
It's really cool to see a lot of those like you said, like the shoegaze or like even like the dream pop like sounds from like the 80s and like early 90s come back, but like you said, they're coming back in a more like aggressive form of music, which is really cool. We even saw like Turnstile kind of start to drift towards not quite shoegaze, but like kind of like a more ethereal sound like that. It's weird to me that it's like the aggressive bands, like the pop punk bands that are embracing that sound, just because it came like out of nowhere, it seems like.
yeah, I mean, yeah, especially Turnstile with like Glow On. That was kind of like a crazy change because they were like, honestly, they were one of the first like hardcore like punk bands that I got into in like high school with like Step to the Rhythm and like
Mhm.
their first couple records. Those were really, really good, honestly. I still jam those sometimes.
Yeah, like nonstop feeling is definitely banger front to back. I wanted to say like 100th, going from their melodic hardcore sound to straight up like dream pop,
That
shoegaze,
was
indie rock, post
that was a
rock.
crazy change, and they did it so abruptly too. Like they just like didn't release anything for like a year or two, and then all of a sudden they dropped like this like beautiful like it still had like riffs in it, but
Mm.
like you could definitely tell they were going in like a completely different direction. And then
And
they just dropped that like record last year or the year
mm-hmm.
before, and it's like one of the softest records I've heard, but it's also like so good. Like I don't know how you can write such good records as like a hardcore band, but then also like switch it up and go on the complete polar opposite side and still write like an amazing record front to back.
It was probably one of my favorite records of that year. I think it was 2020, I think, maybe the end of that. But I know a lot of people just didn't couldn't stand the new 100th, and I was like, guys, this they're kind of bringing me in with this. I would listen to some of their stuff when it would pop up in like playlists or anything, but when they switched over to the post rock shoegaze, I was like, this is definitely it for me. This is the sound I wanted from it, and he's got such a good like singing voice
I was
for
gonna
the
bring up
style.
like I was gonna bring up like fan reaction because obviously anytime you have a more aggressive band or a band that has a style of music where it's harder music, like the fans are always gonna lose some interest, I think, when a band goes soft like that. Or I like it almost seems like some people think it's like selling out, I guess, quote unquote, but like realistically, I mean shoegaze, dream pop has never been in the forefront of music. It's never been cool to make. So it makes me think that these bands really just dig that sound and want to actually change how they sound.
Yeah, I agree with that, honestly, because like it's not like these are the bands being played on the radio or anything. It's just like that's the style of music that as they matured like in their life, that's what they like were geared towards and that's what they wanted to write. So like they were just like we don't really not that we don't care, but like we don't really mind losing the people who were lose if we make this genre switch because people who do stick around are really going to enjoy the stuff that we are going to offer like in next like however many years to come.
I find it interesting because I mean obviously there's some like heavy bands that I don't ever want them to stop making heavy music, but realistically you can't expect a band to keep writing heavy music forever. Um like Bring Me the Horizon have gone pretty mainstream at this point.
Yeah.
Um but I mean, like you can't just expect the same things over and over again from a band, because it's almost like maturing. And I know we were talking about the story so far, and Parker, especially on Proper Dose, uh, talking about looking back at the earlier story so far songs and how it relates to like pain for him, and he doesn't like feeling those things when he thinks about the old music. So I guess you kind of have to move on from like those angry songs at some point because you don't want to feel those things over and over again.
Yeah, especially when you're like touring and like 8 months out of the year and you're playing those songs every single day, it's probably like it gets mentally wearing after a while, I would imagine. But like to have that newer material that you're playing and like you actually like have a strong, firm like belief in, and like it's not like how you felt 8 years ago. Like they still have to play songs from like Under Soil and Dirt, and I'm sure
Mm.
that takes a little piece of his soul every time he does it. But
Yeah, that's a really
Yeah,
angry
because
story so far.
I mean, they always play like Rome, like every concert,
yeah,
I think. So yeah, and that's cool. Like it's cool to throw in some old stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's gotta eat away at you basically to play those same songs over and over again.
Mm.
and that's kind of how I've always thought. Like the one hit wonders who just like they're doing these tours, they probably despise playing those songs at this point because they've heard it 1,000 times and they're just like they want to run away from it and you
Mm.
can't because that's like what you're known for. That's gotta I don't that would hurt, honestly.
I gotta say, one of my favorite things is finding a band that is known for like having a one-hit wonder and actually discovering that their whole discography is kind of fire. Like Harvey Danger, who's known for the song Flagpole Sitta. song was super popular in the 90s, was in American Pie, was in like every big movie from that time, and nobody knows the rest of their discography, but like all of their songs are really great.
Yeah, and it like sucks to see those bands kind of go like underrated and like undiscovered because they just had one song that kind of like blew up. Like they still had potential. It's like I don't know that it doesn't sit right, honestly, because like those bands deserve a little more limelight because they had so much more music than just the one song. But I feel like a lot of people don't care enough to like, and especially now, like how people digest music, it's very much so like singles and like
Mhm.
small works of art at like one time. Like dropping a full record is kind of like a thing of like the past almost at this point, which sucks because you spend so much time and money on building up a record and writing these songs and making sure they sound perfect, and maybe like one or two of them will blow up on Spotify or YouTube or something, and you just kind of like hope for the best for the rest of the record,
We
but you
we
never
talked
know really.
about that with our last episode about how the way bands release music now is completely different. Is they just or we have some bands that are putting out 10 singles on like an 11 track record, stuff like that, and it's just the way
Yeah.
that we eat up media now is it's a completely different ballgame.
I mean, like even just I think our generation as people are different. A lot of people don't have that attention span anymore for like to sit down and listen to a whole album. We were talking about the death of like the double album, like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. It's just our generation, or the digital generation, basically. We just don't sit through things anymore, and because of that, we've gotten to that point where we're releasing albums one song at a time, basically, and like you said, just hoping that like we're kind of releasing like a banger as we go on, and that maybe it'll entice somebody to listen to the rest of the album.
Right. And yeah, I think that is kind of like a smarter way of releasing it at this point because you're almost like breaking it down for like when you like cut up food for like a baby or an older person, that's what you're doing, but you're doing it with singles for like a whole record. So you
Hmm.
drop like 6 or 7 songs off a record and like just drop them as singles as you like go on. And people are like, they will just listen to the one song and then you'll drop a whole album and those 6 or 7 songs are on them and they're like, oh, I've already listened to 7 of these songs. Let me just go listen to like the other like 4 or 5 that they have on it.
Like
So
Turnstile did that with Glow On as well. I always thought every Friday they drop a new single, and it's the way Spotify does it now. Is it'll make a whole EP out of all the singles. I'm like, oh, did they finally release the album? Because it's like 9 or 10 songs now. But then they released Glow On, and thanks to them dropping singles so frequently like that, I sat through the album pretty easily because I was like, I recognize this song. This was a good song. Love this single. And I also get like 3 or 4 new songs I haven't heard yet. And so honestly, the formula works in my opinion.
right,
Those,
yeah.
those songs are pretty short too, I think, which also helped
Yeah.
because that helped me listening to that album. Because I mean, I rarely like sit down and listen to a whole album anymore. But when the songs like 2 minutes each, like it makes it easier for me.
Yeah, and that's like one of the like do you guys know who Olivia is?
Mhm.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I watched a lot of Tim Henson like last year and the year before that. Like his like YouTube videos and he talks a lot about like his music structure and how he writes music. And I feel like it's really smart the way that he does it. He will write like a full song and then take it kind of like section by section and be like what parts are like just the fatty parts. Like, what can I cut away from this song that like makes it not the song? Like, what parts aren't the like the catchy ones, and what can I do to like make that space and time more enjoyable for like the listener? And I feel like that's a really smart way to like sit down and kind of like write your music is to take it like piece by piece, minute by minute, and just kind of like see where your boring parts are,
Hmm.
and see what you can do to like kind of fix that and like work around it.
Absolutely.
Something something that really interested me, and like Chris knows I bring him up quite a bit, but my favorite artist, Richard Edwards, um, seeing his like songwriting process, he'll write like tons and tons of songs, and I'm part of his Patreon, so he'll post like demos and things like that. And it's always interesting to me to hear older songs, and sometimes he'll take like bits and parts of each like of different demos and kind of combine them into like this new song. And it's always weird to me having heard the song first and then going back and hearing all those individual demos and being like, oh, that's from this song and this is from that song. But like just being able to hear like that you're going to be able to combine those things and make it work is kind of like a mind fuck to me, basically.
Yeah, that's like honest. I love stuff like that because you get to like watch all the puzzle pieces fit into each other and like where they came from. That's really cool, actually. I like the idea of it.
So how do you plan on using all this knowledge into future Pale Gold releases? What do you have in mind? Where are you guys at?
Definitely more just like social media promotion. I feel like that's kind of like the new age of trying to do things and get people like I feel like most people find their new songs through either Instagram or like TikTok primarily right now. I feel like
Mhm.
is a big way to get your like your songs to like just explode because you never know like what sound is or like trend that goes with the sound is just going to be like the new thing. So I think a lot of TikTok primarily is probably the way to go. And just like working on getting Spotify like playlists, I feel like is another one, but we try not to like worry about that too much because then it gets like it gets into a numbers game and like
Yeah.
it kind of like loses the passion of like because this is our like passion project. This is like what we do just
Mm.
for like the love of doing it. Also, like we would love to take it seriously, but I hate like thinking about it like a business when it's like it's just something that we all love to do.
Yeah, I understand completely. Um, it can get pretty stressful thinking about is this post gonna do well? Are people gonna react to the song? All that stuff. Like, what if it's at a poor time in the algorithm? And it kind of does. It does take something out of it, especially if it's your passion project, which you're putting your heart and your soul to. And it can also lead up to it might not get seen at that hour or that day, and it might not be discovered for a little bit. So it is very strange how music is promoted now. Social media is a whole game for
Yeah.
putting out music.
It's a
And
very like fine line to walk. And I like Chris knows like I have like social media for my musical project or my band, but my social media presence for it is like basically non-existent. I don't even bother trying to promote my music at this point, just because like um it's for me this isn't really the scene for it, and there's not a lot of people listening to that kind of music, I think. Um, but I'm kind of trying to figure out that line between like, do I just need to have fun with this, or do I need to actually try and get this out there? Like, is there some kind of like medium between the two where I can have fun with it, but I can try and get people to listen at the same time? And it is a struggle. Like, you don't want to take the fun out of it.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line. Like you don't want to like construct these songs and then like run your whole like artistic career around like being a business and like everything is going to be like numbers and money. It's more like how can I get this to as many people's like ears as like they want to hear it and like not suck the joy out of everything I just poured into this like record or single or like whatever it is. I think there is like a very very fine line. And then there's like also on the flip side of that like not doing enough to where like you don't do anything and then it just flops completely because you didn't put any effort into trying to get people to listen to it. So I think trying to find that medium is difficult, but like once you do find it, it can be like super beneficial to you and you don't lose any of like the fun of the music, but you also are having people listen to your music, which is really cool.
The other thing that we've kind of seen is it almost seems like there has to be a level of consistency. Like we've got people we know in bands that have 5, 6,000 followers on Facebook, but still don't have really the reach that they should just because they're not consistently posting on their page anymore. Um, so it makes it like kind of frustrating, I think, to get to that point and just not really have that pull just because you stop interacting on a daily basis.
Sorry, my dog is like she's having nightmares right now. She's like
oh,
barking.
Oh,
She's like napping on my bed. Anyway, yes, I agree. Like there are bands that we even see where they have 20, 30,000 likes on Facebook, but they're still getting like not even 50 likes on a post about like a music video or like a song that they just released, and it's like it's it sucks like watching that because you know that like they're trying their best and they're getting people involved in their music, but like I think at a certain point it is like just algorithm and like how much Facebook doesn't like when you post links on anything like status wise, which is unfortunate because like that's how a lot of people are promoting their music nowadays, which I feel like is why so many people are going over to TikTok. It's more easily digestible, and I feel like their algorithm is nicer, especially to musicians.
Have you ever watched Zach Stone is Gonna Be Famous with Bo Burnham?
I have not, no.
I think he predicted like the rise of TikTok pretty much.
He did in one of the episodes. He recorded only like a 10-second song as like that's all that the viewer needs is 10 seconds of entertainment. And look where we are now. He kind of did predict TikTok with that in that episode. It is
Yeah, which like that goes back to the whole like how people are consuming music. It's just like it's a very like short attention span when it comes to art. Like just give me like the necessary parts and then they go on their way, you know.
yeah. So are you guys writing for a new EP or a full length or just a couple singles? What's going on?
Yeah, so we are in the process of writing and getting together with the producer to kind of like put everything together and like lay it down and get everything written. So like we have 4 songs already that are written that haven't been recorded or released yet. We have like scratch demos for them, but they haven't been like genuinely produced or mastered or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have 2 like freshly new songs that like we're still working out the kinks with at practice and stuff. So there's definitely new stuff that we are working on that I feel like definitely represents us more. It's way leaning in the style that we're talking about, where like that new grunge, like almost shoegazy, like very much like tonal sound. Like it's like riffs on top of like overdrive and like fuzz, and that's like the sound that we really want to achieve now.
I almost didn't dare called string like a kind of a grungy sound, but now that you mention it, it definitely is. It's got like a kind of like some Alice in Chains kind of riffs and like the aggressive vocals, and I hope that you guys continue in this direction. I can't wait to hear these other songs that you guys are laying down. But going way back in time, whatever happened to Culver Creek?
It was just a rebrand. That's literally
Mhm.
that's Pale Gold, but it's like it's just not called Culver Creek anymore.
Did you technically release the first EP under Culver Creek, or was that when you were Pale Gold?
Yeah, no, we did, and then we reworked like the album art, and then we just like put the new name on it, and yeah. So that was we've gone through a few different lineup changes. Not for anything bad, but like just people have their own things going on.
Absolutely.
So like our original drummer, he had a child, and he like kind of had to stop all of his music stuff at the time to just like go take care of his family. Um, and like the same thing with Gino. There was no hard feelings with Gino. Gino just he had to go kind of like support his family, which is like we have all the love in the world for him. Like there's nothing bad about it.
For
But
sure.
we just kind of like the more like people that you introduce into the band that have different ideas, it's just kind of like what represents everybody the best at the time. And Pale Gold was just kind of like Michael and I's like agreed on we should just call the name like Pale Gold. We got so tired of Culver Creek too, I'm not even gonna lie. Like we got that from a John Green book when we were in high school. So we were like, this does not represent us anymore. Like we just need to have something simple, have something that we like, have something that's like sounds cool. And then yeah, we just decided on Pale Gold.
I gotta say that Culver Creek does actually it works really well with the EP, and surprisingly, so does Pale Gold. So I think you definitely struck struck something good with both of the names. But Pale Gold does sound a bit more mature and less kind of like pop punky, easy core ish, you know?
Yeah.
So how long have you guys been playing shows for? Just since the EP came out?
Even before that,
Before
like,
that?
yeah, Michael and I have been playing music together since our sophomore year in high school. So we were what, like 14,
Mm-hmm.
15, somewhere around there. And we're both 25 now, just turned 26, be 26 in August. So it's been almost like over 10 years at this point that we've been like writing and playing music together. We started as like a little like two-piece acoustic act that we would just like go around to like different local shows and just like kind of open up for. And then we joined like a full band, and that first original band was called Taking on Main Street. Again, was super like pop funky
Mm-hmm.
and was like in our later years of high school until we graduated. And then like right after graduation, we changed it to Culver Creek. We got a new bassist, we got Gino, and then after that, we became Pale Gold, and we started releasing like the single and writing like a whole new genre of what we think best fits us at this point in our lives.
You find it difficult jumping on shows in the area, just being a different genre than what's kind of going on?
100%. Like, I think unless we're like opening up for a bigger like tour package that's coming through that like is in our genre, we are probably playing metal, like a metal show, or like opening like for a metal act, and it's like it's fine. Like we have much love for like the whole metal community, and we have like homies who play metal, and it is what it is. It's like the dominant scene in our area for sure. But
I commend you
there are
for that,
also
because I've done like I've opened for like metal bands as like an acoustic act, and it gives me anxiety personally, just because I kind of know how the metal community is.
yo, one of our first shows ever, like this is when we were very, very, very pop punk. We played out in Orlando. We opened a metal show. We are the opening band. We set up and like, all right, well, you have like 30 minutes before you play. We're just gonna open doors, whatever. So we're walking around the venue and we like go around like the tables of merch that these metal bands have. No shit, we pass a shirt or a hoodie that says like do you remember those Defend Pop Punk shirts
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that were like super huge way
Yeah.
back? And it was that same design, but with like a Kill Pop Punk logo or something on it, and I was like, all right, all right.
All
So
right,
yeah,
we're just gonna go home.
Yeah.
and then we played a set, and it was fun. But how many people liked us? That's up for debate, I suppose. But
As long as you had fun.
Yeah.
no, yeah, I mean every show. Like I think there's a certain amount of anxiety that goes into it, especially leading up to like the first or second song, and then you kind of find your feeding, and you're like, all right, this is just fun at this point.
Mm. Have you, amongst all the shows that you played in all these mixed genres, who were the ones that kind of like stuck with you, even not pop punk, not alternative, whatever genre you've played with?
So I mean, in like the softer genre, I feel like Rona's definitely the boys.
Mhm.
That's like Andreas's like not new band, but like newest band that he's in.
I've heard nothing but good things
Um,
about them.
yeah, and I mean like all of his bands, honestly, like are amazing. He was in Greenhaven not that long ago. They kind of like went their own ways, but that band was really sick. Um, there's just a lot of like cool bands that we still haven't even played with that I feel like would be a blast to play with. Like Head High. Head High sounds like they'd be like super chill to play with.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's like other acts that are not even like local to us, like in Orlando. There are a bunch of, like taverns. Seems really cool. They're like this cool like indie group. Liquid Pennies sounds cool. Chlorine Fields.
Mm.
There's a bunch of like cool like softer bands in our area that we still haven't even really like been able to explore and like play with ourselves. So I feel like the more people we reach out to, the better, and the more like everybody kind of like hears the style we're going for, they're gonna be like, okay, this band's it.
I wish that some of these venues around here that do happen to see a lot of metal shows, I wish they would open up a little bit more for some kind of indie or alt rock shows like the Noise Box. I wish they would put on some more stuff like that, and it would really help get these bands out to like a really active community, because I know there's a lot of people within the metal scene that are into softer shit, and I think them getting some exposure to this community would help them a lot, and they deserve it for sure.
Yeah, no, I feel like a lot of it is like the selling point of it, where it's like they know at this point, because the metal community is like so bounded together, that regardless of like who kind of they get on a bill, like a metal show will sell regardless, because whoever in their homies is gonna like show up, and they'll bring a bunch of people with them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like could be said like the same for indie and like emo and like alt rock, but it's not really given that same kind of like opportunity, especially in our like area.
That's what it is. Or you'll see sometimes there'll be a few cool indie bands, but they're playing at some like a dive bar or something, and I don't remember the last time I've been to like a dive bar show really.
Or like even just like played a house show not that long ago. Shout out to Jack Charles, that man. But we played at his house, and like it was a blast. But like you said, there's not many venues that are just like, all right, there's like a local show, let's have them like at this venue and like accept that. But like if there's like a touring package where they know they're gonna sell tickets for it, I feel like that's the big thing, is like it's a money thing for a lot of like venues around here.
Mm.
And like they just know that metal sells around here, and unless you're like a bigger emo pop punk like indie act, it's not really going to be like the same draw as it would a metal show, you know?
Yeah.
We'll give a shout out to like the Crowbar. I know the Crowbar does like I think it might be a monthly like local indie band night.
Yeah. Andreas actually hosts that, the indie night at the Crowbar. He's trying to do one in Orlando too. Seems like super cool, honestly.
I've really liked talking to you about your band and what's going on and what's coming up, and talking about the industry a little bit. But I wanna ask you just some general stuff now, because this podcast is just a music appreciation kind of thing, and you know, Michael and I are both, we love music since we were very young. We have several opinions on a lot of music, and we can talk about it for hours. I just want to ask you, what were some of your favorite releases of 2021? Something we could look up.
Let's see. Does it like specifically last year, or this year is included as well?
I know this year is still young, and I think I had a pretty good list for last year. So let's do 2021 at first, and then even if it bleeds in like January through like April, whatever, throw it on there.
Okay. So we got What's Done in the Dark by Warm. Warm is like a super like chill, like slow gaze kind of band that I really am like heavily into at this point. Let's see. Tennis System is another one. That band really good. They just did a song with the singer of 100th actually, and that was a really good release.
Dope. The vocalist of 100th had like a little solo project he was doing or something. I forgot what it was called, but it was very dreamy, ethereal sounding.
Violet something.
Yeah, Violet. It was something like that, and it was really good. And I think he only put out a few tracks from it, but I'd love to hear more from it.
Third Chain, the 3-song EP from Soulblind. That is probably my favorite record from last year.
I'll have to check out Soulblind, for sure.
They like, you said like string kind of gives you Alice in Chain vibes. Mm-hmm. They are like very much so grungy, in that like aspect.
Dope.
Uh, Glow On, which I think is on like a lot of people's lists, honestly.
My top
Yeah.
5 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was on my list as well too. But even like critics and stuff like that, it was like everywhere.
Someone in chat, Hoagie Fest just recommended Bleak, and I believe I listened to a little bit of their stuff when he dropped it in the Discord. But yeah, that is some very like early 2000s kind of heavy alternative. Definitely worth checking out. And I just wanted to check up on chat real quick. Maggie, hi. Poppy Bingus, hi. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. One more. Is there anything you're anticipating as far as records?
I feel like a lot of my like favorite bands just dropped records, so it's gonna be a minute till they drop again. But like Cloakroom just dropped a beautiful record. Downward just dropped a beautiful record. Mood Ring, which is actually like a local, like around here, they just dropped another single, and they're about to drop another full length. That's gonna be really dope.
Yeah, they're really good. I really enjoy them. It's kind of hard to tell who's putting out records these days because like they're always just putting out singles and you can't tell really there's no really promotion until the band officially says online new record this date, pre-save, etc. So it's kind of hard to tell what you're anticipating.
I kind of always just assume that like if they're dropping single or two, it's like something's coming at least, like at least a little EP.
I remember back in the day when like Rise Records, Fearless Records would like make the post on MySpace and Facebook, oh, Devil Wears Prada has a new album coming out and like this time and everything. Back when I feel like record labels were doing a lot more for their bands, but also bands are way more independent these days.
And I feel like I kind of prefer it that way, honestly. Like if you can do it yourself, like you should do it. There's a lot that a record label could do for you, but like there's also a lot that could go wrong if your like album doesn't do as well as you think it would, or like could,
A lot invested into it.
Yeah, 100%. And at that point, it's not just your money; it's like advance money that they gave you too. So it's
they entrusted into you. Really shady. But I have one more question I wanted to ask you about because I would see you posting about it. Are you still Twitch streaming?
Sometimes. So I'm trying to get back into it, but the like hesitation factor is in the fact that I only have a console. So like the streams aren't like great quality. While I do have like a camera, there's not a lot of things that I can do that I could do if I had like a full PC layout.
What would you like to do if you had a full PC layout? Would you stick to video games or would you put in like some music as well?
I would probably do like half and half. So I would do like game nights, but then also do like music nights where we're just like writing, we're in Pro Tools, just like having fun, or just having like any kind of like people could submit their work that they like want to like have reviewed, or like honest opinions or something like that. I feel like would be super fun too.
Well, I hope you have that at some point in your future. I wanted to ask about Twitch streaming because this is on Twitch right now, and I've spent so far it's been about 4 years since I started streaming, and I would only stream like Call of Duty, Apex, Fortnite, the Battle Royales, Dead by Daylight, Rocket League, etc. And I never really got anywhere. And then a friend of mine, he's actually in chat, he suggested, dude, you love music. Why don't you start streaming stuff like that? Do what you want to do, not video games. And so we started up this podcast, and I've been 100% way happier streaming just to do something that's not video games and all that. It really is. It's a breath of fresh air, and it really changed Twitch streaming for me.
Yeah, that's like another thing that I would like to I would like to stream. Like I play Apex primarily right now. That's like my game of choice. I can't get enough of. They just dropped a new season like 2 days ago too.
I got it installed. I haven't touched it though.
But yeah, I would like to do that, and then like anytime that I'm just like, man, I can't even touch the game. I would like to just like switch, like have the ability to just switch over and kind of like we're just gonna do like a music night tonight where we just like listen to cool music and you can submit your music and maybe we'll write a little bit.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, like I said, I hope that at some point in time you're able to do that. It'd probably be a lot of fun, and it's a unique idea. Writing with like the community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I admire that idea.
The
But
big thing was graphics cards for like the longest time because graphics cards were like gold mines. Like you could only find them scalped so bad online, and they're like just now dropping again.
and now the only ones you can get a hold of are like the most recent model, so they're all like at least $800, stuff like that. I'm glad to have
Yeah.
gotten into the PC game like 6 years ago when it was more affordable.
Yeah, it's all the crypto miners, man.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. We actually, because I work at a Best Buy, so I look at that shit all day, and we actually had a PS5, like a canceled order today, and it was like time stopped for a second, like holy shit, someone could buy that right now, and it only took about 2 hours, and then a customer came in and grabbed it. But the gaming shopping industry shit is all fucked up right now.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me how like, PS5 has gone like a waiting list, like directly from their site to even try to get a PS5. Either that or you're paying like an outrageous scalp price. Like I've seen people asking for like $1,000, like plus for a PS5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I refuse. I've always loved PlayStation, but I'll wait until it's more readily available.
Yeah, no, I've been on the waiting list for like 4 months. So, you know.
Yeah, I think I put my email in to the PlayStation website just for shits and giggles because we have a PS4 still, and I never got anything back from them. But I see Xbox Series S's at work every day, and if I really needed the next gen console, I would probably grab it. I would be happy with it, I think.
Yeah, I've thought about it. The only thing is like I was talking about how like Apex is my game of choice and I am like max level. I have an heirloom already. Like I have rare items and there's no cross platform like progression.
Yeah, you
So
have to
like
start all over.
you're starting from nothing and it's like I don't know, man. Like I don't want to lose all that.
I think it's the best battle royale, and I think that's what it's missing. Is even Fortnite and Warzone, they have the cross progress and everything, but that sucks.
Yeah, like even if I were to like upgrade to a PC, it would still be like starting from scratch until they decide to like integrate that.
That's EA for you.
Yeah.
I'm getting ridiculed in the chat for saying I'd buy an Xbox. I don't know, man. I would probably accidentally buy a game, like a physical game for it, though, knowing I had a customer come in and be like, with an Xbox Series S in hand, like, can I get this game for my kid? And I was like, absolutely. You can't do that. So I'd probably accidentally do that. But I have a PC, we have a PS4. It's the Netflix machine, pretty much, so I don't necessarily need a PS5 right now. But PS4 Pros still hold up to the new ones, honestly. Yeah, I have a flat PS, or like the Slim, I guess it's called. I don't know. When they started putting out the 1 terabytes.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Slim.
I still have the original, like the fat box. I have like it sounds like an airplane motor sometimes.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know, nothing beats that.
I had one of those too because Sony had actually given me one because I worked for GameStop at the time, and I was lucky enough to come in right when they were giving assistant store managers like a free console. So it was great though, and I mean it lasted me quite a while.
Oh yeah, and it's a great like it runs fine, but just like when I'm like gaming in the late hours of the evening, at like 2 or 3 in the morning, you can like hear it throughout my whole house. It's like the giant whirring sound.
I think the test for us was we picked up Elden Ring for PS4, and we're like, if this runs all right, then cut the PS4 some slack. We'll give it a little longer, and it does run Elden Ring pretty well. I think it caps out about 45 frames or something, but it's still very manageable despite being on PC and for everything else and thinking, oh, 60 frames is the king, but yeah, Elden Ring and like 40 frames on PS4 is still manageable. So the PS4 is still got it, you know.
100%. That game took a month out of my life, honestly.
I just started picking it up again. I played like the first few weeks that it came out, and then shit happens. Other things going on, you know.
Oh no, that game sucked me in. Like I really built my character, did PvP for like 3 weeks, and now I'm burnt out on it. I can't do it.
I really appreciate you sitting down with us and just talking some bullshit, even talking about video games. That was cool. I don't think any episode has branched out to that yet. We've just kind of been music and all that. But yeah, man, this has been really great.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Thanks for everybody that like tuned in and
Yeah,
checked out the
absolutely.
stream, watched on with us.
And I hope that next time we can get all the Pale Gold boys on for when you're releasing your next song or putting out your next EP. I'd love to have you guys on.
Yeah, for sure. We'll shoot you a message. We'll definitely be in contact.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, this has been great. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Tyler, I hope you have a great night, and thanks so much again for sitting in with us and listening to us ask you dumb questions.
No, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Hey, have a good night.
You as well, man.
That was great.
It was very chill.
It was very chill. I liked I didn't have to do a lot of work this episode. Michael was in his zone for this.
I was in my genre of music.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. I mean, it's not hard for me to talk about metal, but I mean, obviously it's not the music that I'm listening to most of the time on a day-to-day basis. Besides the fact that I'll be throwing on the Black Dahlia Murder tonight, I guess. But yeah, I know like you put me in a situation where I'm talking about Turnover or just dumb indie hipster shit, and I can talk forever.
And then our next guest will be something absolutely stupidly heavy. I wanted to thank everybody
I think
for
we have a bit of a variety coming up, which is cool.
June is going to be really cool for us.
June's going to be variety month. Looking like super forward to it. We got some really cool people coming up. Branching out, we're doing some other things too.
And yeah, we're doing some stuff outside of the podcasting soon. Out in the field. It's going to be really cool. Stay tuned, and we'll be posting more announcements. Next week will be our off week. We plan on doing 2 weeks, get a week off, and then another 2 weeks. We got June booked up for about 3 guests, and we have another one at the end of this month. And I can't wait to show you guys what we got. This has been a fantastic comeback so far. It's been really, really chill. Great, what's the word? Good, like, creative outlet, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And if, let's see who's hanging out tonight. I want to thank you all. Sweet Muffin, Poppy Bingus, Death Raptor, Paradox, Spookernatural, Hollow Queen, Sweet Muffin, did I get that again? Thanks for being here. Check out Pale Gold. Their new single, String, is available everywhere. It's such a great song.
Especially if you're fans of like that moody kind of like alt rock, like kind of Turnover, like Peripheral Vision, but also like Gleamer and that kind of stuff. It's probably right up your alley.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that we have a band like this in our immediate area. And I can't wait to see them out playing shows. I hope I'm at the next one they play.
Me too.
Unless you have anything else, Michael, I'm pretty checked out here.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay. To our sound cornies.
Sound cornies. Did you just claim that on the spot?
I did just claim that on the spot. I'm trying to work on my improv.
Okay. I like that.
It's getting very meta though because I am talking about improv, and I don't think that's how you're supposed to do it.
It's a little corny, but I mean,
it's a good one. Our sound cornies. Let me drop the Discord. If you are not in the Discord, please join the Discord. We talk every day to the community. We discuss what video games we're playing, what our favorite songs are right now, and we just talk shit. It's a fun time in there. Also, join our group on Facebook to keep up with announcements. And I didn't even post this one in the group. Promoting on social media is hard, folks.
Very hard.
But that'll do it for us. Stick around. Keep a lookout online. We should be having another announcement for our next guest incoming. So drop in to the community and let us know what you thought of this episode. And have a great night, everybody.
Have a great night.